everyone, it is Elizabeth from Fern Stickers, and I am here today to talk about my 2022 goals. So I'm going to start facing the camera and just talking a little bit about where I am in my life right now, which I think gives important context for goals, and then I'll take you top down and I will go through my goals as I've written them out in my MäksēLife planner. So I wanted to start off just talking about kind of where I am in life and why I came to these goals, because I think it's important to talk about how goals are so personal to where we each are in life and what our values are. And I think it's easy to sometimes try to attempt goals because you see other people doing those same goals, or you think that they're good for other people, but obviously goals are personal and they're different, and they even change for us from year to year as our values and priorities change. So where I am right now. So if you're watching this, you probably know that I run a small business in addition to my full-time job of being a college professor. And in the last few months, I've done a lot of thinking about what my values are and what I want my life direction to be, as I've been making the decision about whether I wanted to pursue my small business full-time or keep my full-time job. And ultimately, I decided that I want to keep my full-time job and really scale back my small business to make it something more manageable to run as a hobby rather than being essentially a second full-time job. And as I made these decisions and talked a lot with my husband and my family, we decided that a big part of what I valued is like not making work the central thing in my life, and that I'm really fortunate that I have a job that is, and I should say this is unusual. Most college professors have very intense jobs, and I'm very fortunate to have a pretty chill job as a college professor. And I really want to take advantage of that, and it's easy to feel like I should be working all the time, but that's not the life that I want to lead. And especially as I thought about running a small business full-time, there's so many amazing, rewarding things. And for anyone watching this who might run a small business, I don't want to, sound like I'm saying you made the wrong choice. But running a small business is a lot of work, and there's things that it's really hard to take time off, or even if you have taken time off, there's some things when they go wrong, you are the only person that can fix them or help them. And I realized that's not what I want to do, especially because I've essentially already done that for my current career, getting a PhD and getting tenure. I've already kind of gone through the hustle part of my career, and I realized I didn't want to quit this job when I kind of got to the stable part where I can build on my skills and take things a little bit more easy, as I can focus more in depth on one thing at a time rather than everything at once. I want to enjoy that part of my career, and I don't want to stop that to go all in on something else. And so I realized that really a big thing that I value is I want to obviously do a good job at my work and do my best that I can, but not let work be the center of my life. And I want to be able to enjoy other things and take advantage of the flexibility and the freedom that I have with my full-time job to be able to pursue a lot of my other interests and things that I enjoy. So I really want to work on slowing down, and a lot of this comes to a part of the context. And again, I want to make it clear that I'm not complaining about this, especially because running Fern Creek Stickers is what got me through the pandemic sane. And so May 2020 was when my business really picked up. And so really since May 2020, and there were a few months last spring when I also scaled things back and it was much more calm then, but otherwise, like since May 2020, I have just been going full steam ahead and not had a lot of rest. And it also means too that especially in the last 6 months, there were a lot of like healthy habits in terms of sleep and exercise that fell by the wayside, that were healthy habits that I've had established for a really long time. So you're gonna see a lot of themes related to rest and also trying to restore healthy habits that I'm not too worried about like making stick, but I kind of need to get back into my routines. So I feel like I'm in a little bit of a time of transition right now, and I think you'll see that reflected in my goals. I think that's kind of the background and context that I wanted to give, and again, to remember that hopefully seeing some of these goals gives you inspiration and ideas for things you might want to do, but also that these are my goals and they make sense for my place in life, but they might not make sense for you. The other thing I want to say too is this is the end of January, and I have been working on my goals since early January, but realistically, this month we moved to a new house. And also, as I'm winding down Fern Creek stickers, this month has still been a really busy transition month because I've been trying to sell off all my inventory and have been discounting it. So I've been getting a lot of orders, but I'm down from 5 to 1 employee right now. So there's only 2 of us with a lot of orders to fill. So that's been very busy. So I was realistic and knew that January was not a month where I was going to make a lot of progress on my goals. So you know, and goals can start anytime. I do love the fresh start of the new year, but one of the things that I love about being a college professor too is I get 3 fresh starts every year, and I always have these 3 natural breaking points to like think about my routines and what I want to prioritize. So I get a lot of fresh starts in the year, and you know, and it's okay, you can start whenever. So realistically, I'm going to start working on these goals seriously in February, and that's totally okay. So I'm going to switch you to top down now to go over my goals. So let's start off by talking about the Life Compass assessment. And this is another thing that gives you a little bit of context about where I am going into setting these goals. So there is a set of questions that you answer to come at this. So it's not just subjectively saying where you think you are on these different places. And the line is where you currently are, and the circle is where you'd like to get to by the end of the year. So I'll go over these briefly, and then you'll see how this factors into the goals. You'll notice there's a few that I didn't put a circle for, and that's because these really aren't my focus this year. So if I make progress, that's great, but I'm not in a bad place on those, and those aren't the areas that I'm focusing on growing. So we can start with one of those actually. So family and relationships, I feel like I am in a good place with family and relationships, and obviously that's an area that's always great to grow in, but that's not going to be my emphasis this year. Work and learning, you'll see too, this is like I just talked about, I'm trying to make work a little bit less central to my life, so this is not a huge area. And again, overall, I'm very fortunate to have a job that I enjoy and that I'm good at, and I work with good people. So yes, there are things that I want to do there, but it's not necessarily things where I really feel like I need to grow a lot. Fun and recreation is an area where I do want to grow a lot, and I ranked really low. And again, this is because I've been really working nonstop for a long time. And again, like I like hard work. I don't want it to sound like I'm complaining, but I've also really realistically been working too hard, and I need more time for fun and rest and relaxation. So this is an area where I think I can make a lot of progress because I'm so low right now, and that I have lots of things that I do for fun and to enjoy. So it's not that I need to start hobbies or anything, it's just that I need to make time. And by February, once Fern Creek is scaled back, I'm gonna have that time. Personal, I'm at a 7 and want to get a little bit higher there. And so this one is, well, I guess you'll see what my goals are for that. But so one where I'm doing well, but I also think I can make improvement. Physical environment's another big one to improve on quite a bit, and a lot of this had to do with when I filled out the Compass assessment, we were still living in our old home, which was just cluttered and too full, and a lot of that, again, had to do with running a successful business out of a small condo. The business had just started to take over, and it meant that other things, our house was just always kind of a mess, and there wasn't much that we could do to fix that. And yeah, and it was also too, it was my husband's bachelor pad, and I moved in there once we got married, and we didn't think that we would live there for as long as we did. We ended up living there for over 3 years. And so it's when going back in time, there are a lot of things that we would have done to better merge our stuff and decorate, but we didn't think we'd be there for that long. So physical environment is low, but again, I expect to make pretty good progress on that because we've just moved into our big, beautiful dream house that we've been working on building for a very long time. And just moving here and already having more space and room to put things away, I feel like I'm already up at least 1 level on that. Financial, this is the area where I feel the best. I am at a 10 here, and this is, I think with money, I just want to acknowledge that there's so many things that are outside of our individual control that I am very fortunate that, for example, you know, my parents paid for college and I don't have student debt. But part of that too is I also budgeted like nobody's business when I was in grad school and was able to avoid taking on additional debt in grad school. So there's some stuff that, you know, comes from hard work, and there's some stuff that comes from circumstances and being raised with a healthy relationship and good financial literacy and education, and marrying somebody who was in good shape financially. So there's a lot of financial stuff that is, some of it comes from good work and hard work and good decisions, and some of it just comes from our backgrounds and the situation that we are, the situations that we were in previously. So I feel very fortunate that I'm in good shape financially, and you'll see I've actually turned this goal into my Fern Creek category because it's too big to put that and my full-time job in work and learning, and it makes sense because it is financial. I'm making additional income through Fern Creek, so I really treat this as the Fern Creek goal because I don't have specific financial goals otherwise. Spiritual and personal growth. I am a Christian and my faith is very important to me. This is another one where overall I feel like I didn't slip quite as much, but I have not had as much time to spend with God as I have been really busy, and I want to restore that. There are other things like staying connected with church and my small group and my Bible study that I've certainly maintained, but spending personal time with God is something that I want to return to. And as I alluded to before, health and wellness has always been an area where I've felt pretty strong about, but a lot of my good habits have slipped over the last 6 months, so I want to focus on restoring those habits. So I see this as more of kind of a maintenance goal area. I need to just get back to maintaining those good things, but again, an area where I think I can make a lot of progress because I'm not as high as I would have been on this like a year ago, say. So let's get into the actual goals. So again, in the MäksēLife system, there are these 8 different categories for goals, and you can put as many goals as you want. And so it's gonna look like a lot of goals, and I know some people would say this is too many. For me, I like having a lot of goals, and they may not all get done, but that's okay. But I think that I should be able to make pretty good progress on these, especially because some are big, some are small. And another thing that I really like about the MäksēLife system is that it does encourage you to include things that might be maintenance goals. So these aren't all big, totally shift my life kind of goals. Some of them are things that are important and I want to keep going on the same direction or do a little bit more, and some of them are big things. So it is a lot of goals, but I think that this is realistic. So in terms of personal, I have the first one is to develop and maintain realistic routines, even on breaks and weekends. So this is one where in the past, I've had pretty good morning and evening routines. I need to work on getting back to those, but they just go out the window on weekends or when I'm on a break from school. And to a certain extent, that's fine because I want to be able to sleep in on the weekends. But these are also things that I prioritize, that I do in those routines that I'd still like to do on weekends. And so I want to figure out a way to maintain those. And especially on breaks too, I really like having routine and structure, but again, I sleep in and then I work out at different times and my routine kind of gets off, and I know that I would benefit from having a little bit of structure even if I'm still more relaxed about it. So I want to find ways to be able to continue to maintain those routines. Then the next one is to define my personal style and build my wardrobe. And this one is maybe a little bit unusual, but essentially I find myself, I used to dress up a lot for work. And since working from home a lot during the pandemic, I really don't care about dressing up anymore, and I don't want to dress up for work. So I really want to work on defining what my kind of casual but put together style is, because my wardrobe before was kind of either really nice put together outfits I would wear for work or leggings and a sweatshirt, and I want to find what's in the middle that I feel is a good look for me. And I have not bought a lot of clothes over the last 2 years, and so I really could use some more clothes, and I want to think a lot about what is my style and what are some foundational pieces that I can put in my wardrobe, and a lot of things that I can mix and match. So I think that's a really fun one that I'm looking forward to doing. And then digital declutter. And for this one, I think I'm going to pick a different focus every month, and this is a goal that for me I don't think will be a huge thing to accomplish, but it's stuff like earlier this year I was in search of the perfect podcast app. So now I have 5 apps. I've decided which one I like, but now I have 5 apps and they all have some different podcasts subscribed in them, and I've been too lazy to get them all into one and to remove the other apps. So there's even certain podcasts I listen to on one app and certain podcasts I listen to on another. So I think that might be my February focus, but that's really not maybe it's an hour of work, but I just need to do it. And so I've got a bunch of different areas like that where I want to to focus on just doing some digital decluttering over the course of the year. So for fun and recreation, my focus is to do things I enjoy, so that probably isn't any surprise after what I've already said. My first goal is to read 50 books. I love reading for fun, and yeah, I'm a pretty fast reader. I'm not super fast. People who can read like 100 books in a year, I'm always amazed, but 50 books is a very doable goal for me, and I'm starting off a little bit slow. I think I'll only have 2 for January, but especially later in the year and over the summer, I'll be able to catch up on that. Then memory plan the year. I've really enjoyed my memory planner. The last 6 months of 2021 didn't get planned because I had too much going on, but before that I loved doing my memory planner, and I want to keep up and be consistent with that. It's fun for me to do, and I love having it to look back on. Spend at least 30 minutes a day doing things I enjoy. And I think that realistically this will be more than 30 minutes a day once, again, once the Fern Creek stuff gets more wound down. I've been tracking this in January and not done a great job at it because I've been pretty busy still trying to get orders out and get the new releases prepped. But this is one that should not be hard, but it's a priority. And again, I want to make sure, after going a long time with having a lot of days where I didn't have time to myself to just do the things that I enjoy, to do crafts or to work in my garden or to read a book, whatever it is. So that's a priority. And then this last one is a little bit more vague, but I think gets to kind of the mood and tone that I want for the year. So generally relax, slow down, and spend time away from technology. So this again goes back to, we just moved into this beautiful house in the woods. We have, in our neighborhood, we have a hiking trail that goes through the back of everyone's lot. You'll see later, I'm gonna be building a big garden, and I wanna spend time outside, walking the hiking trail, going to some of our other local hiking spots, gardening, reading, just slowing down and relaxing, because again, as my husband and I have talked about what we value and what we want from our lives, that's kind of what we want. We want to step away from being busy all the time, always being on the go. We want to have a lot of time that we can slow down and spend time together. And that's really, I think, what we value and what we see for our life going forward. So I want to start to enact that this year. Work and learning. So my focus for work and learning is to transition to the next chapter in my career. So I got tenure. Officially it started at the start of the school year, so very recently tenured. So I'm really entering a new phase of my career where I realize that maybe some of the things that I want to focus my research on are a little bit different, and what I'm going to find meaning from is a little bit different. So I want to think about, what does it look like to do my job in this next chapter. So the first thing with that is to finish up old projects. I have a lot of research projects that are ongoing and that are really close to being done. So I want to try to work on getting as many of those things out the door as possible to clear up my plate for new things. And then that, I'll skip around in the order here. So that goes to this one, to determine and define my direction for my next career chapter. So what is it that I want to focus on? What do I want to do? And so this means spending some good time in reflection. Some of my friends have offered to do a retreat with me at some point in the summer where we'll all talk about what we want for our careers and think about some of this definition. So I think that a retreat with some of my good friends from grad school would be a really good way to do this. Then work better to work less. So again, if you know friends who are faculty, and I know there's a couple of you watching this likely who are also faculty, the reality is that being a faculty member for most people is a really frenetic job where you're really overworked. And I am so fortunate to be in a position and a departmental culture where that's not the case. And I want to take advantage of that because I feel guilty about not working all the time, and that's something that I need to get rid of. And especially, I'm somebody who's fortunate too, just the way that my brain works. I process things fast. I'm able to work pretty quickly, but it's easy to get distracted and not prioritize things correctly. And so I really want to work on using tools that I have and have used in the past, but have kind of gotten less good at using, to be able to work in a more deep and focused way and be able to finish, when I finish my tasks, I'm done for the day, and not be so worried about watching the clock, but knowing these are the things I have to get done. Once I get them done, I'm good to go for the day. So putting in those systems to work better so that I can work less. And then also, I have an idea for a work-related podcast that I've wanted to start for a while, but I have not done. And this was something too when I was thinking about taking Fern Creek full-time and I was trying to think about what different streams of income could be. I actually thought about doing this same podcast as like if I was working as an entrepreneur, and then I said, well, I can do that podcast as part of my full-time job. Not trying to monetize it, but I can 100% do this podcast, and I think I'd really enjoy it, and I think it could bring a lot of value. So I do want to start a podcast that is related to my area of research. For family and relationships, my focus is on quality time. So I want to spend intentional time with family. And for me, what this means is partly it's about planning things, just planning to spend time with family, and especially with my family who live further away, that's important to do. So I think that this one though, it's good to have in here, but it's not going to be adding some of that intention is kind of the goal, but this is also still to a certain extent a maintenance goal because we already have planned a couple of things coming up for that. And then I'd like to take at least 2 trips just with Brian. We have not managed to get away, just the 2 of us, since COVID started, and we've been fairly careful with COVID in general. Brian is an essential worker. He works at a factory that makes medical supplies, so he has gone to work with hundreds of people pretty much every day. So we've figured he's getting a lot of potential exposure at work. So we've been pretty careful during COVID, but we certainly have gone on some trips within driving distance, like with his family, but we haven't managed to get away, just the 2 of us, for a weekend. So that would be, even if they're just long weekend trips, I'd like to get away with Brian at least twice this year. Then for health and wellness, so like I mentioned before, for me this is a lot about reviving and bringing back healthy habits. So that's the first one, to restore and maintain existing healthy habits. So getting back into a good sleep routine, good workout routines, etc. So I'm not too worried about that, but it is something that I want to, it's important to me and I want to do. The next one is to try a new recipe weekly, and I'm pairing this with also every quarter I'm going to buy a new cookbook and then try a new recipe every week from that cookbook. I like variety in what I eat. I think Brian would probably be happy if we ate like the same thing every week. A lot of this has to do with I want to discover new healthy recipes that Brian really loves. And so to find that, we need to try new things. And so by trying a lot of recipes, hopefully I can add a few like more slam dunk kind of recipes to the repertoire that are things that he like really loves and is excited about. And again, like he's not a picky eater, but I want to make recipes, I want to make things for dinner that he really loves and is excited about. Then the next one I have is prepare healthy snacks. And I want to take a step back though with talking about like what is healthy, and just that for me, I don't like to put too much emphasis on what is healthy and what is not healthy, because I do eat a lot of foods that nourish me and make me feel good, but I also eat a lot of foods just for pleasure. And I think that it's dangerous to put too much of an emphasis on trying to eat healthy foods all the time. But that said, I know that there's a lot of things that I eat that I feel better when I eat them. And for me, we cook most of our meals at home. My meals tend to be, really nourishing and things that fill me up and sustain me. But when it comes to snacks, I often am just focused on like grabbing whatever's most quick to eat, especially when I'm in the middle of working, because I do tend to have some snacks throughout the day while I'm working, and to me that's not a problem because I get hungry and I want to eat something. But I'm often focused on what's fast, and those aren't always the things that are going to fill me up or help me to focus on work the best. And I realized that kind of the pitfall with this is I need to work on prepping healthy snacks ahead of time, like over the weekends, so that I have things available that I can grab quickly, because when I'm in the middle of working, maybe I don't want to sit down and chop up a bunch of vegetables, but if I do that on the weekend, I will go grab them out of the fridge. So I want to get into a routine of preparing healthy snacks. Then the last one you see on here, I debated whether or not I wanted to share this, because obviously people on the internet have a lot of opinions about pregnancy and children, but this is one of my goals for the year, so I am going to go ahead and share it. This is one that I probably will not keep you very updated on until there is big news, but I do want to get pregnant this year, and this is a goal that I feel like is a lot less in my control than other ones. I am 34 and Brian is 45, so age is against us in this, but we really do want to have a family, and we're going to have a family no matter what form it takes for us like pregnancy is something that I'd really like to experience, but we're very open to having biological kids, adopting, fostering. We're very open to whatever way kids come into our lives, but we're gonna try the biological route first. So this is a goal for the year, and obviously things involving healthy habits and foundations give support to this goal as well. Spiritual and personal growth, I want to focus on spending more time with God. Again, my faith is important to me, but this part of a sort of daily habit and routine has fallen by the wayside in the last few months, so it's a habit that I want to bring back into place, and it's something that I want to grow over the year as well, especially as I anticipate having some more time in the coming months. I want to be able to, I've got things that I want to build and add on to this as the year goes. Then for financial, so again, I mentioned this is really where I put my Fern Creek goals. So my big one for Fern Creek is I want to optimize Fern Creek stickers to be fun and sustainable while generating meaningful additional income. So working on making Fern Creek stickers something that doesn't take over my life and stays fun, and is something that I can continue to do without getting burned out on it. But at the same time, I do want to generate some meaningful additional income for our family. And this is where, too, I'm fortunate that I'm able to run Fern Creek way more efficiently than I was previously, even at a smaller scale, because of investments that I've made to run it efficiently at a bigger scale. So there's a lot of ways that I can do way more in way less time than I could like a year ago. So I think that this is a pretty doable goal, and especially too, since I still have one employee, she's able to help out a lot as well. I want to publish 100 YouTube videos this year, so that's about 2 a week. And I also want to create a social media routine because I'm kind of a hot mess when it comes to social media and feel all over the place. So I want to come up with a routine in terms of whatever it is, prepping, scheduling, posting, have a better routine and be a little bit less of a hot mess. And then finally, for physical environment, my focus is to make our new house into a home. So the first one, move into our new house. At this point, that is, I guess it depends on how you define move. We're not unpacked all the way yet, but we were certainly moved. So I think that one's at least mostly checked off of the way. I want to make significant progress on decorating our new house. There's a lot of work to do for decorating, and this is something that I don't expect. Really, I think 2 years is the goal to have the whole house decorated, partly because there is a lot of stuff we need to buy, and so that's, you know, financially it makes sense to spread that out. And also too, I don't want to just order everything at once. I want to be able to slowly build, to be able to say, okay, now we've got these couches, what is the best like wall decor that fits in with this? Because to me, it helps to start to see the space build to be able to add on to it. I also want to build my dream garden, and so this is something I probably haven't talked a lot about very much, but I love to garden, and I have been, except for 1 year that I lived in a house in grad school and my housemate let me put a garden in the backyard. Other than that, I have always been at community gardens, and so community gardens are amazing, but it's kind of a pain also because you have to drive or bike somewhere to go work in your garden. There's a lot of pests and diseases that are outside of your control. And so I am so excited for really the first time in my life to be able to have a garden right outside my kitchen door. So we have a big area that is prepped and has a big tarp over it. So there's no weeds or grass growing underneath, but we need to build a big fence to keep out deer. We need to build garden beds. So I don't know realistically when I'll be able to start planting. I think I should definitely be able to have a fall garden, building my dream garden, even if a lot of planting doesn't happen this year, being ready to do that. Going along with that is preparing for chickens. I have wanted to have chickens for so long, and we can finally have chickens here. Again, we probably aren't going to get chickens this year. I don't think we're going to be ready for that, but preparing for chickens, so, you know, reading books, getting the supplies, building a chicken coop, getting ready to be able to hit the ground running next year on chickens. And then finally, organize and declutter. I know this isn't very specific, and there's ways that this has already started to happen. You know, like I was putting books away on my bookshelf, and that was a pretty easy one. As I was putting books away, I said, okay, what books don't I want to keep? And so I was able to, you know, get rid of a lot of books, organize the books I had. But there are other things, like all of my craft supplies are in like plastic boxes, and I just put those all in my office closet, and there are a lot of those boxes that I need to go through and reorganize and get rid of some things and put things back in the right box. But for now, putting those in the closet was the right way to go. So there definitely is a lot of organization and decluttering to do in our new house, and I want to work on that. So the last thing to show you is my vision board for the year. And I've actually never made a vision board before, and I do want to caveat this a little bit, that a lot of times vision boards, people do them as like a very manifesty kind of thing. Like you put things on your vision board and then you're gonna manifest it and it's gonna come true, and there's an emphasis on material possessions. That is not my thing. So this is not in some way, in any way, something that I'm like putting this out to the universe to manifest. But it was more, I really liked doing this because I feel like it kind of set the mood and for what I want the year to be like. And when I look at this, I get really excited, and it makes me really, really happy and excited about what I've got in the coming year. So I look at this, and to me, I feel like this is something I can keep coming back to remember, like, okay, this is kind of the mood that I want for the year. So maybe calling it a 2022 mood board is a little bit better. So I've got a lot of different pictures of things related to my goals, and then also some words related to it as well. And my word for the year is focus. You can see that there as well. I have some definitions that to me stuck out as the most relevant ones, then have it over here as well. Thank you so much for watching this video of my 2022 goals. I hope that you enjoyed it. I would love to hear about your goals as well and what you're looking forward to in the new year. I will see you all again soon, friends. Bye.